building their side room, but there's an off angle, there's shots coming through, and Gamelord now may lose their backstop position. The duo at the back will fall, but it's only Ice for making time to keep going, and Titan shut it down.
Goodness me, Kashi moves outwards. There's two players holding, Narvalo and Robs, hoping to get these two players back in towards action. HVP lose another member on their cross. They try to move down towards that western side, but down one were waiting for that push for a very, very long time. Maybe HVP gets their teammate back up in action, but they need to get towards a top 5 position now to see them with maybe even just a chance towards the last 2 matches of the day. Titans fly in towards where Gamelord's holding. Very limited space to play in, but right now Robs is making it happen.
Doing a lot of work with him and Narvalo. Titan fall down. The crunch is held off. Alpha 7 now at their back. They need to turn their attention back up the hill, and they have more to deal with. Gamelord with the remaining duo, keeping things going. A little angle found. Robs looks to light it up, but the res comes through, and Alpha 7 are starting to regather momentum. Narvalo needs to keep this pressure on, but he needs to heal as well. All the reses for Alpha 7 are in. The circle is still pushing them, however, and they will need to move forwards. Nades, Molotovs, everything pouring through, but Narvalo gets the better end of the deal. Robs trapped in the shack, sure, but Alpha 7 will need to move forwards further. Carrillo is knocked out, and Alpha 7 getting cut apart. Gamelord doing so much work, 10 eliminations on the cards. They've trapped and tracked down Titan, and now they're turning their attention to Alpha 7. In the meantime, IHC and Inco going one way, then the other, and Nades take both of the teams down in the center-south of the next circle. Narvalo close to Mythic now, who has a nade in hand, has 4 of them in fact, repositions out wide, and Narvalo back behind the rock. Remo low, Gamelord hold on with the duo on the east, but Bigatron are right there, ready and waiting.
Mutually assured destruction from IHC, as well as Inco on that side. HVB down to 1 player, and Gamelord have absolutely dominated. What an incredible hold from them with the 2 players in Robs and Narvalo. From holding off the push from Titans to taking down Alpha 7, a Titan in their own right as well at the top of the lobby. HVP still struggling though, lost another player, but up to top 5, that's what they were looking for. At this point in time, top 5 is good for the guys from HVP, but down 1 looking to finish the fight here versus them.
Catch up, actually. They might not even realize there's still a player there. They will do now, though. Matic unleashing hell, but it's not going to be able to survive the burn himself. Matic falls. No eliminations, though, Blank. That is really... I mean, you said it was what they were looking for, but it's just not going to be enough to keep them there. Fortunately, it is still more points than they've been able to earn in the rest of the day so far. These teams towards the top are not going to let it go without a fight. Gamelord, 10 eliminations on the game. Narvalo, the archetypal survivor, with a lot of points at his back. What can DRS do against down 1 as the 2 teams looking to get back up to 4 players?
Again, BTR set themselves in position for success after that last game on Sandhawk. You want to see them do more here. Yes, they don't have the most amount of players to work this out with, just the 2 in Liquid as well as Misery, but they have to take this all the way at the moment. For BTR, that last game on Sandhawk, yes, they got some points, but again, I'll say it, it was lukewarm. It was not enough. They did not have enough presence within that lobby. This is just a game where a 2nd or 3rd place might just about cut it.
Ooh, a cheeky little spray over towards Forest there. Narvalo caught, but not going to get taken down just yet. Seemingly found some cover there behind the shrubbery. Down 1, right on the edge, and will have to move further. Narvalo is closer than they are. DRS as well will have to push through. Bigatron, the only team in the circle right now, even though they are a duo, and they have some real hard cover to push up on.
DRS moving on the prowl. Killer sends himself in towards the smoke. Down 1, moving in the vehicle. This has to be a good shot coming through from BTR. Rule steps up. Down 1 gets a little bit further down, but Narvalo's there, finds 2. This guy is killer today.
Find another point, maybe even getting a flush there. Nicely found, and a lot of damage being sent through. Narvalo able to flush out 1 of them, and down 1 have been taken apart here. Forest, last player standing for them, and now it's only DRS as a full force squad, but they still have to push in just a little bit. Fortunately for them, there's no windows really for Bigatron out their direction.
DRS moving up, 4-man squad towards the top of the lobby at the moment, looking to put some more points on the board here. A really good team when it just comes to getting towards these final moments every single time. Not able to bring always that firepower. Finishes off the fight for them. PTR though, 2 players left alive. Nice shots come through from Forest. Will at least find one, gives them time to maybe get out, but Narvalo will take immediate advantage of that. From this angle, moves up to the shack, further in towards the circle.
Very comfortable in these solo scenarios. We've seen them in them about 5 times over the last 2 days, Blank. Somehow, the Game Lord have been operating well as a team so far this game. They did get chunked down, but they already have, I think, over 11 eliminations. Narvalo, though, going to get trapped out by the blue zone. Will have to make a mad dash for it if he wants to stay alive here. Bigatron.
That's a great volley. It's cruel.
He's still... Oh, no, there's the zone. I thought he was going to be in it for a little bit longer, but no, the zone will envelop, and neither team's going to put a foot out of line here. Narvalo falls 3rd place, but a cracking entry from Game Lord on the game. 13 eliminations in 3rd place, a 23-pointer. Now Bigatron in a 2 versus 4, Misery and Liquid.
Take top 5, and you don't even put them on your teams to watch. And then they come.
Needs to find some damage from them at least, but you can see already the nades have been sent over the top, and with Liquid only able to send 1 at a time, whereas DRS is doing so many. Needs to find a bit more damage. Already Killer quite low though, after being res a little bit short time ago. Bit more damage on his side. You wonder how many Liquids got left, but that's him down. Now Misery in a really horrible spot. Rules on the side.
Position for Rules is known, but Liquid going to get flushed out here. Gianti starts to push forwards. Bigatron, 1 versus 4. Looks for some shots, finds 1, but is not going to be able to get any more. DRS able to take the chicken dinner in the middle. Very, very nicely controlled towards the end there. Playing from that high ground, moving through. Nice and effective.
DRS will be in a really good spot now, starting that game on 31 points and finishing with a good point scoring and the chicken dinner. I think that might set them ahead of Alpha 7, in fact, in 1st place now. Really, really good game from DRS. I mean, they have just made it through all of these group stages so far very, very well. I mean, it's been consistent at a time. Not always the most flashy of finishes, not always right at the top of the tables, but certainly always here and present is DRS. Narvalo, though, still going out of all of these games. I mean, it is incredible to see. The battery life on this guy is just unbelievable. The amount of time that he just remains in these matches as well. Like, why can't the rest of Game Lord just step up to this kind of pace, or at least move and shift to this type of play style? If I would just get Narvalo on IGL duty at this point.
He is about 3/4 of their team. It seems like he has earned so many of the points for the squad, and with that, that might even see them closer towards those top 5 positions. It was a really massive point-scoring game, 23 on it, but it was DRS from 5th place to take the chicken dinner.
I'm going to take a page out of Imperium's book. Now, you guys might recognize the name Imperium. He's caster of PUBG Mobile, though I think he just retired recently from it. Nepal #1, DRS Gaming, 25 points. A fantastic game for them, putting up a chicken dinner and again, potentially pushing them past Alpha 7 on the leaderboards. However, another 2 teams here we have to point out. Game Lord, well, I should maybe rename them to Narvalo and co. Gets 23 points on the board. A fantastic showing.
Narvalo Lords, my favorite team. Clearly, I don't know how he just keeps surviving as the last player. Is really, really impressive, and he's up there. And as I said, Sunstorm, during that game, I feel like Game Lord just has their very first taste of a DBS. I'm like, wait, that's actually really good.
This is broken.
I want more of this. We just 2v4 Titan in that fight. This is an incredible fight, but I still want this one thing, Jason, from Game Lord. It is to remain as a 4-man team in the late game. I've yet to see it, but if they do it, we could see a chicken dinner because they truly have the chops to take, as we saw, a 2v4 versus Titan. That's big.
Won't happen, Max. I'm sorry. It just won't happen. It's Game Lord cannot win games with 4 players left alive. They have to at least lose one player. Yeah, too easy. Exactly right. But Bigatron as well. Sandstorm able to do a decent result. They get a 2nd place finish, as we saw there. A good chunk amount of points for them, and that puts them closer to reaching the top echelons of our top 5 in our leaderboards. Whereas teams like HVVP, again, another another underwhelming performance. I don't know if great came from. I'm used to saying great when talking about them, but it was anything but that. There's a lot of teams starting to struggle here that I'm getting worried for, and we're almost through the first day. We're almost through half of the matches we have in total in our last chance stage. I don't know what to say, Sandstorm.
Yeah, and this is what I wanted to discuss when we get to the last, the last chance stage of the tournament. You have these teams that just come out strong in the group stages, in the survival stage, but then when they get to the last, I guess, stench or the last part of the tournament, they always seem to be struggling. They're not adapting well enough, and that's what we've seen with HVVP. They have dominated Group Green for the first 3 days, and then they changed their strategy on day 4. They started dropping on the west side of the military base, and they lost first place. They didn't even make it to the grand finals, and now they're here. And they're repeating the strategy again. I'm not sure why they're doing it, can get to the grand finals, and now they might not even make it at the end. This is very bad for HVVP, and they have to turn it around now.
Yeah. They need to turn it around right now, but for us right now, we have to go to a short little break. When we come back, we're getting things ready for our 5th match of the day. So an Xperia 1-4 and Xperia stream is made in collaboration with professional esports players. You can play PUBG Mobile in 90 Hz Xperia streams, total cooling system, and multiple ports for intensive gameplay and what, Maxman?
Top tier accuracy. I don't remember the last one. you just keep throwing me under the bus in the middle of a sponsor saying, well, I don't know what.
What is it? Okay, hold on. What is it, Sandstorm? What's the last thing?
Intense gaming, and that's about it. Why is he doing this to us?
I say this call out about 3-4 times a day.
But it's
for the
your
last
thing.
How many days? And you guys don't listen to the last word. It's streaming. Hello, that's what we're doing here. Gentlemen, we're about to head into our next match. Before that, I'm going to take a look at our overalls, and DRS have done it. First place by 8 points. Now, 8 points isn't that big of a buffer, but as you look down the list, they're almost 20 points ahead of Game Lord, who are in 5th place, Maxman.
I think that a lot of the teams here just realized there was a 90 Hz option on their phone, not an Xperia device. Like, wait a second, this is also really good. It's just going to help out a lot on our results.
DBS, 90 Hz? Oh,
best of both. Well, I mean, yeah, it's looking fantastic for them right now. It feels so good to CDRS, as I already said a little bit earlier in the show, that they were playing this hyper-passive playstyle and they were just playing edge and avoiding fights as much as possible. But now, when they get in that game-winning position, they're not scared anymore to pull that trigger and to just be overly aggressive. And Rules, I would say, Sandstorm, is the one that sets up the team in really good positions a lot of the time. So heads up to him, but at the bottom, though, no heads up because heads down for HVP and Vampire.
Yeah, definitely struggling.
LGD.
12. Yeah,
Also,
I mean,
what? No.
No. I think Maxman's team should be safe. Should be, provided that he doesn't pick them for the rest of the tournament. But next game, Miramar, that's going to be a very spicy game, especially with the fact that Nigma, HVVP, Vampire, these guys are not doing so hot right now. And with this 5th game of the day, HVVP Vampires, I'm not sure if they can bring it back at this point of the turn, especially Vampire. In the last game, a couple of times they would send one of the players to kind of scout out, find out some information, find out which compounds they can actually just breach instantly. They didn't manage to do that, and they lost 2 players in 2 different locations to do 2 different teams. They're not able to get the information they need to get into the last couple of zones of the game.
All right, well, it's time to take a look at our teams to watch here, and I'm kind of hoping both of you have focused in on the lower-ranked teams to do. Well, of course, Maxman's got to throw up Game Lord in there after their recent success and discovery of the DBS, but Titan as well, Max.
Yeah, I think they had some interesting fights in the previous game, but I'm mostly focused on teams in the middle of the pack right now, and the reason why I'm not picking lower teams, I think it might be over. I'm really looking at the lead that the teams had at the top, and I'm thinking, unless we see a step up in these last 2 games and seeing how things have been going so far, I don't know why I would put as teams to watch like HVVP, Vampire, Enigma, because even if they do get good games, I don't know if that's going to be actually enough to reach top 5,
Well,
so it's looking scary at the bottom. Yeah.
Right, 5th place was 36 points. 20 points in a match, pretty doable. Even
Possible,
like 25, pretty doable, right? That does put you in striking range. I feel like one game right now from these bottom teams, if it's a successful one and then they start to improve from there, I think there's definitely a chance. I don't want to call it just yet, Maxman.
I agree. It's just I have not seen them being able to, I think, perform at that level. HVVP has not been able to get in a single circle the entirety of today. Vampire is just looking like a shadow of their previous selves in what we saw in the last 2 stages of this PMGC. Until I see something, I'm not going to put them as a team to watch because they're just not looking anywhere as good as they were in the past.
Okay, well, Sandstorm, respect your picks here as well. You had Enigma Galaxy, you had HVVP, and you had Vampire. 3 teams that need to step up, and 3 teams that I would never expect to not make it to the finals here of PMGC. But we'll see as we head into our 5th match with John, Allen, and Blaine.
That's right, we're going right into match number 5. It is going very, very quickly, Blank. We are making our way inexorably, inevitably, towards the point where we will have to cut a lot of the teams out here. 11 of them will not be making it any further.
Yeah, we're really getting towards that end mark now, and it is not at all how I expected this to shape up at the end of the day. We have some teams that we thought were 100% going to get towards that top 5 position, yet here we are with DRS, Alpha 7, Down 1, IHC, and Game Lord currently in 5th place. What a strange leaderboard this currently is, but I'm happy to see it. Game Lord have been down bad throughout the year. I think towards the beginning they looked very, very strong. Last year they looked like one of our best Western European teams. They fell off massively, but now getting back to form. Unfortunately, we have not seen many of those dominant finishes with 4 of Game Lord left alive to get up those big points. And it's been a while since we've seen a really good chicken dinner win come from Game Lord. And I think that is the kicker right now for them, is that that's what's holding them back. I think the only thing that's allowing them to run forward at any kind of pace at all is just the fact that Narvalo, last alive every single time, just makes the call, makes the decision to basically play for the points for the team. I think he's getting the vast majority share of them for them. Other than that, it's just a case where they have a good position, they start battling out and getting a huge amount of eliminations across the board.
I mean, yeah, in that last game, right, they got, I think it was 13 eliminations over the course of it. Their total over the tournament so far today, 20 eliminations, right? So they only had 7 other eliminations, 18 placement points, and half of those were from that last game. It really has been, to be honest, not Game Lord, it is Narvalo, in my mind, as you said, on form. And we need more from the rest of them if they want to keep hold of that top 5. HVVP will be fairly happy with this circle, as it pops up to the northwest, a desperately needed respite.
I think for HVP, if you look at the games today, and I'll keep saying it, this is a heavily central focus lobby right now where a lot of teams are just going to hit those center positions. If you're already towards that area, you've got a good spot. And right now with HVP's current drop spots, North George, Sosnovka backup, La Cobreria over on Miramar, and then over on the northwest island for them in Sandhog, they are always right on the outer edges of these maps. So it's unlikely that they'll get many circles coming their way in the first place. So getting towards the center positions for them is extremely difficult, and changing drop spots at this stage of the tournament, very difficult to make happen without finding yourself coming front to front, face to face with some of these other teams in the lobby and maybe having to take a pot drop. So right now, with this shift on the circle, this is their chance. This is their opportunity to make something happen. Similarly, for Enigma Galaxy, currently down in 14th place with 16 points. They have a chance here dropping over towards El Pozo. This is a good position for them. They can challenge out towards HVP's spot on that northern side. And Hacienda del Patron for Game Lord continue on their streak towards that top 5 position. I want to see them towards 25 minutes with 4 to 3 members. If I don't see that, I mean, even if they make it towards the grand finals, I'm still a little bit hesitant to cheer them on in that way.
It is all a bit topsy-turvy so far in the first 4 matches. We'll see if that can change, if that can be altered, readjusted. DRS very, very far on the south side. They'll want to get looted as soon as possible. Try and avoid any conflict as well as they move on forwards. No one really too close by them, but their path likely to include a western coast rotation, which will be behind Titan, who themselves might be behind IHC on that route.
Titans moving in. Like you said, DRS. Go for that western rotate up on that road. IHC slipping down just a little bit. Still quite firmly towards the top of the lobby with 40 points. I think I'd be happy to see IHC make their way through to the PMGC. Considering the splash they made a couple of years ago, back when they were Zeus, I think this is another good chance for them to show what they're made of, really test their mettle against some of the best teams in the world. But again, right now, this is still last chance. This is still the survival stage. These are still some of the weaker teams from the lobby. Some of the teams that were just eked out right at the very, very last minute, coming in a 4th place. I think for HVP, VPE, this right now is not right. This is very, very wrong to see it happen. This is what happens in a sprint format. Sometimes is that you don't get always those expected values. But I don't think right now that 8 points and 12 points apiece for these teams can even be sat outside of the realms of expected values, right? I think you could easily say, oh, HVP would be in 10th place right now, and that is them not doing well. But at the moment, these two teams look like they cannot find that same kind of performance that they were looking at when we were watching them in that survival stage, when we were rotating those groups in and out.
Definitely needs a step up. To be fair, you can play the Inco strat and get 2 really big games a day instead of playing consistently. It is high variance, as you say, but you've already played your bad games, which would mean that you necessarily have to have these 2 massive games at the end of the day. And to put it bluntly, both of these teams can't do that. They can't do it at the same time. It just doesn't happen.
No.
And so we're seeing one of them going to drop behind at least.
Yeah, I think at this point in time, it's very unlikely that we'll see HVP or VPE both in the top 5, barring some kind of miracle for both these teams, and the teams at the top suddenly having a massive drop-off in performance. For HVP and VPE to make it to the grand finals, right now, the percentage is very, very low of that happening. This is a bit scary for any fans of VP and HVP. It would be very sad for one of the most promising Thai teams to not go through to the grand finals and represent their country there. But again, this is just how PMGC works. Sometimes you get cut, and if you can't continue that kind of sprint, you can't continue that consistency going through for 5 days, you should have made it in the top 3 in the first place.
I mean, we were talking about Vampire after the show yesterday, and I mean, they are generally quite a streaky team. They have had massive performances. I mean, you look at PMWI, for instance, back earlier in the year, they came first in both phases of that tournament on a global stage against some of the best teams in the world. This is not that team. This is absolutely completely different from what we've seen, even from previous days in this tournament. So you cannot afford to have these off days in this fashion.
Yeah, and I think the adaptation has to come through now from both of them. A7 is probably the only team I'm seeing at the moment that is able to make it happen with this edge play style. And they usually play from the northeast, though, and I think that's something you have to consider, is that a lot of times this northeastern side of the circle, it's very free, it's very clear. And for HVP, where they're coming in, it's a little bit difficult. For VPE as well, southwestern team playing on the edge, They also have a massive difficulty doing that because there's a huge amount of teams that are coming from that way, dropping on that side of the circle too. There's a lot of little bits of nuance that's going on at the moment, which is hampering a lot of these guys, but I still have to admit that A7, again, probably the only team that has found success playing this edge play style. Now, if HVVP towards the center, we have a really good time to bring out the magnifying glass and see exactly what's going on. Is it that edge play style that's holding them back, or are they just in this state of a little bit of mental fluctuation? Can they not quite find that same groove that they were in over the past 3 days? And is it not just been able to translate here? I think this is a great time to have a look, really deep dive on the team, because if they don't make it far into this game, I'm talking past 20 minutes, you know, there is something seriously going wrong. And the adaptation coming through tomorrow has to be massive from both VPE and HVVP.
Hopefully they can pull something together in these final 2 games of today as well. LGD moving in from the eastern side, who've been having a fairly middling day right now, have LGD. They've had 1 or 2 fairly strong performances. They've had some solid results come through. But now they need to start to blast out to join the big boys at the top. You can see at the moment 11th place, 22 points, 38 points the current bubble. So they are 16 points behind. Not insurmountable by any stretch, but definitely not where you want to be. It's lagging a little bit behind where we thought they might be, especially given their performance yesterday. HVVP regrouping a little bit to play on the north side of this next circle shift.
Really, really, really good ridge to play from on this top side. Huge amount of sidelines available to them. The next circle coming in will lock off that northern edge portion as well. So again, leaving those 2 players behind in Meku as well as Kitsune, the north side of the ridge, will give them a bit more opportunity to look out that way and make sure there's no one coming in. So that careful nature returning back. But you can see there is a difference. There's a really big difference. Yes, HVP got the circle, but it does seem like VPE has switched things up as well. I mean, they looked at what's happened with Inco. They find that they're getting a lot of success on board, and you wonder why, and it's like, well, they're just sending center. They hold center, they get far into the game, they hold on to these compounds, and VPE, instead of trying to play out on the outside now and move in, they've taken up a very central compound. They're a strong team. They've got good team fighting capability. They can play off the back of one another, but they've been constantly on the back foot every single time at risk of toddling backwards and just falling flat on their back.
Ooh, gets lit up. Hamodi wins that challenge. A solo outpost for Enigma Galaxy, and that makes that a very, very risky challenge to take for Hamodi. However, he does win that out. However, if IHC, in the meantime, take down the vehicle, it means that he will take a knock on the drop down if he needs to regroup with the rest of the team.
So be careful with it at this point in time, John. Like you say, really important position for them just in terms of been providing that info backwards towards the rest of his team. Suki, though, it's a big amount of damage coming from Peace. Immediately gets back into cover. Zessi down. It'll be difficult to pick him back up, but can make that long crawl back towards Enjoy. Pick him up, but Suki's very unwilling to let this player go. Got him on the chains. Keeps dragging him backwards, but finally gets towards his teammate, who's unraveling those as we speak.
The rest of LGD as well, looking out this way, being pinged furiously, I imagine. After the knock, slowing them down, and actually, potentially, no, MVM's moving away on that one. Just trying to get a little bit better position in this next circle, because Besiktas right on the edge. It's not worth LGD pushing out for it. Circle shuts yet again. The big fight I'm looking at, Blank, is Bacon Time versus HVVP. Both of these teams need to stand up. We've talked a lot about HVVP, but Bacon Time as well. This was a top contender team coming into today. And again, another performance that is unbecoming of them.
100%. I think for HVP, currently very split off at the moment, watching all angles. They're very concerned about getting backfilled on from any of these positions and saying how important Crater Fields Ridge is. And Bacon Time slowly making their way on over. I think the information should have been passed back from at least one of these players from HVP. Tixi trying to not get too far forward. Does have to play point man a lot of times and suffers for it, but I think that it's more valuable for them to recall Tixi early on and allow him to play
Up there, but Ghost does get the angle. Potential for Titan to take a little chunk out as well, but Reject lose one player. Wants to loot up, get off the top of here. Probably pretty sharpish unless Reject can re-establish control on the ground with Duello and Divine. It is valuable as a sightline, but if you're getting shot out, it's not going to have any value at all.
DRS moves up. Currently our first place team, 56 points, looking good at the moment. Poly fans can be very happy about this for them. Moving through. This is all the way down on the southeast edge though, so not quite in the circle as of yet. A little bit further to go. Enigma Galaxy moved down. Challenge off against Titans. Great nade from Teak.
This is on the southwest side of proceedings. Nade already finding the opening onto Enigma Galaxy. What hard to be here. They keep just about squeaking in, but they continue to find themselves a lot lower down the tables than they find themselves comfortable with. Amodi has got the angle and will be suppressing the Titan knocks on the inside. Won't be able to find any damage there, but Lord underarms it over the top of the wall. Could be good, repositions them, but they've all moved back. Titan with a really timely maneuver.
Nicely done there. IHC unfortunately did take down one of the Titan players in the back there. Knocked, unable to regroup with the team. Attacks are down. IHC picking that one up. Might not be able to finish him off, but I don't think that you'll see the rest of the team be able to get there to help him now, all the way on this southern edge. Bacon Time as well as HVP chilling in the same area. Really, it's very important for HVP to take a confident and clean fight with Bacon Time. For Bacon Time, life gets very tough towards the ditch inside of Credit Fields. Luckily, Tixi's able to regroup with the team. Very split though. Any one of these knocks unresable, in which case Bacon Time might be able to quickly capitalize on the top of it. VPE in a good spot. And Inko holding off versus Down One and DRS, who are very close by. Good push from DRS actually to get into that position. Nice nade.
Knock over towards two of the Titan players. They've already lost their backstop, remember, as well, so only one active puncher. Last player standing for Titan now. Lord up and close for Enigma Galaxy. 4 players alive. Free Fire on the corner. There's backup as well further down. Playing as a duo, Lord and Freak. Trapped on the tire buggy there, but will be able to save it as he swings out wide with Ralph. Nice little hold and fight against Titans. Eliminated. 16th place. 30 points, 9th position. Going into the last game, still very much in the conversation, but we hop over to IHC. Godless forwards against Bigatron's position on the south side. Will have to move up north on this next circle.
I also close by with some good sightlines down towards this spot. Smokes are out for BTR to keep this position nice and safe, but it's not within the circle. They have to move forward already. You can see backstop sent out by AHC. Very dangerous outpost actually. A little bit risky, so they will move back down towards the team. See if they can find any of these team shots down towards BTR. They don't, so regroup instead. Smart decision coming from IHC. Might just want to send away from this one.
Getting into the buggy. There you go. There's that reposition. There's that regroup. Bacon Time still sheltering under the windbreak of HVVP on the northwestern side. Alpha 7 northeast. Looking to try and challenge out DRS's totals. But in the fight, it's Down One. Having to fall back through the fires, not ideal. Taking quite a lot of damage there, trying to burn away at Aegon XI8 on the scrap. 3 players alive for Down One. Aegon XI8 with 3 in the compound as well. Forwards position and an aid over to Osal. Fabian low as well. Needs to try and get a heal, and that's the last. They don't even need to see them. They don't need sightlines. Aegon XI8 take all of Down One down, and 3 players active for them to move forwards. Reject on the mountain, fending off against IHC, but the roll-up is a little bit too strong. It's going to move Ragey off, and 3 players from Reject, not enough to stop them.
Brilliant nades there coming through from Ghost and Blade. Will decimate the players coming through from Down One. Reject though, IHC were able to move up to a good spot here. It's a long shot for them to get there. Meantime, HVP spotting those players from Enigma Galaxy down towards that south side. Wonder if they can hold this spot. I mean, Bacon Time will have surely heard them now. They've been very quiet.
Certainly have. It's been quite strange that they've stayed there for so long. I guess they've They know that no one's really going to crash them in this position. They're in the circle, but they don't need to take this fight. Just stay alive for as long as possible. Get some consistent points on board. IHC moving in against Reject. Lose Yol, but we'll be able to res that one. Duello and Reiji now last players standing for Reject, close by to Alex and Nick McGalaxy as well, a little bit around the corner. Everybody needing to move north though, which means that this fight is going to be forced. Nade over the top, right on top of Alex. And Icy moves into position. Duello trying to swing out wide as well. Reiji super low against Nick McGalaxy. Fighting off against two teams as a duo. Really tough stuff going through for Reject. South side, very treacherous indeed. Center compound is there, but HVVP get this shift again. This is the game that they need to win, but they haven't managed to rack up the points yet, Blank, and there's still plenty of teams for them to go down in front of.
Still a massive challenge. Gamelord have been taking a fight from Besiktas as well as LGD at the same time. It's been really good stuff. A very wide peak there coming through from Robs, though. Maybe a little bit ill-advised, considering they were fighting two teams in the first place. Taking a wide peak like that is very dangerous. Narvalo, Victor still alive. Victor making some very risky and dangerous plays as of recently. A bit too far out. 7 eliminations found so far for them. In the meantime, Nick McGalaxy still taking shots down towards the guys from IHC. Finds a good amount of damage through. Icy down now. IHC, currently 1 player alive.
Uh-oh, Narvalo spotted. Bigatron, 3 players just moved straight on into the third party there. Only the 1 player active for Gamelord. They're looking for the res over onto Robs, and Bigatron playing as 4 will be swinging in from that south side. Peace, last for Besiktas in the shack. Able to line up 1. He's looking pretty healthy. The weapon swap's good. Does he get another knock? No, he doesn't. That'll be Besiktas down. DRS holding on to their top spot on the tables, and another elimination point under their belt as well, under the watchful gaze of HVVP on the northwest still.
The wings there as well, that Alpha 7 have a good opportunity to try and third party onto that one. Last player from Gamelord does go down now. BTR putting in some work at the moment. 7th place, not a bad position at all, and I think that at this point in time, yes, BTR haven't had their massive finish on the game, but certainly have got some decent ones coming through. Found some good positions on the map, play from there. Maybe didn't get the win, but looking for those consistent points at this point in time, I think is wise considering where they started at the beginning of the day.
Inco holding onto their compound. Aegon XA8 for the challenge, playing off one another though. Becker and Vitali move forwards. Blade already low. 3 players to deal with. 1 knocked in the back for Aegon XIA. IQ playing close. IQ will fall as well. Blade low and dispatched. Inco staying alive. 3 players in it. Sorry, 4 players in it. 3 eliminations. 10th place finish there for Aegon XIA. Alpha 7 now up against Bigatron, who have been moving through the Miramar ground very effectively. Misery ducks behind cover again. Jen Foster did get down, flushed as well. Low HP for Misery. Mythic and Revo are there, but Liquid and Zuxi roll on through to try and throw a spanner in the works here. Carrillo pushes all the way through, out, and will spot Misery. A bold push, but it pays off. Revo and Mythic now teaming up with Carrillo, back together. All 3 of them trying to face off against Zuxi. Last player standing for Bigatron, but Schwepp is there. Will have third-party angle for Vampire to shut anything coming out of this compound. Challenge is good. Carrillo low, Zuxi falls. Schwepp now starts to stand up, backed off the ridgeline. There is backup moving in from Vampire, and they want to take this team out here and now.
HV still have oversight on this though. Vampire moving away, and a little bit of damage over towards Alpha 7 is more than they needed, to be honest with you. That little bit of damage will slow them down, let them know that they need to be wary moving off from this side after hearing those shots. So I like this from VPE. Maintain this decent compound within the circle, yet keep Alpha 7 in a position where they're a little bit afraid to move up. Inco, far into the game, picked that central spot, really haven't done much at all. Grabbed those 4 eliminations for themselves and then just coasted from there on out, and that is fine, that is fair play. Bacon Time though, have not moved an inch from that position. I think for HVVP, maybe false sense of security is there. I think I just saw Tixie take some shots down towards Bacon Time actually though, so they have been located. The move from underneath this warehouse, potentially a lot of free eliminations though. Still, HVB have to be careful. Everyone in this lobby has absolutely beam laser-like accuracy.
The Galaxy, Lord proving that. Worried about Tixi though, and he definitely should be. Ralph moves in for the backup as Inco try and move in for the res. They want to play together here, the remaining duo from Enigma Galaxy. Ralph though still in the vehicle. Vitali spots it, gets these shots down, lays down the Lord. Will be able to get that flush, I'm sure, very, very quickly. Ralph, last standing now. Bacon time being opened up on, and here we go. HVVP finding those shots. Last player now for Bacon time, trapped down in the crater. I think HVVP have known for a long time that they're there. They would have heard the vehicles move up a lot earlier. But they've just been happy to leave them chilling. Save those for later. Put them on ice. Bacon time eliminated, 7th place. 14th position on the table is not good, but 6 eliminations for HVVP. It's a good start, but they need to go further with 6 teams remaining.
I think that the reason we haven't seen HVVP lighting up the kill feed, the elimination feed, as much as we might have liked, is just because of Bacon Time's been here. And I respect the fact that they've tried to keep as many sight lines on them as possible before moving out to a more proactive and aggressive position looking down towards the southeast. This means now that they're completely clear. They know that they can play this ridge side with confidence. Tixi can move down if he needs to. And now they can just start to take shots down to absolutely everyone on this southeast side. Maku already opening up towards DRS, finding a knock to start it off with.
Look at how high up Meku is, and Kitsune as well. Matic, I mean, all of them, right? They have absolutely perfect high ground. I think Vampire are only saved by the sheer fact that they might be out of render distance at this stage. It's really, really coming down to just stuff like that. The vehicles will be spotted, sure, but difficult to hit those shots at that range. They're more concerned about the teams closer by. Matic spots Vitali, shots with a Mini 14 over out to Inco's backline. Tixi moving in as well. Has taken a bit of damage there. They want to get a little foothold forwards, but Ralph is close by. The teams down the hill might be able to deal with that, however. Schwepp, shots over towards Rules. And Blank, we said both HVVP and Vampire needed to have good games. They needed it. We said they couldn't do it. Blank, we might be being proved wrong.
Maybe. Meku makes his way down off that cliff side. Starts to move around towards the rest of the team. Ralph removed. Enigma Galaxy out. Tixi still trying to keep the guys from Inco at bay. Matic also supporting from this position. Difficult for Inco to move out. Little to no cover available for them. Now we get into nade range. Tixi will pull out the nades. Inco sends off towards the east, so Tixi wants to put that one away for the time being.
Circle goes very central, but still under the watch of the HVVP high ground. They might have to descend from the super, super high ground positions, the plateaus that Kitsune is currently on. He is outside the circle, but he can leverage it for as long as possible. Vampire picking up a point or two on their way, as well as DRS faltering under their gaze. Fortunately for DRS, though, they're right at the top of the tables. They're in this very late, yet again. 3 players alive.
Yeah, this is really good news for DRS and should secure them some good point scoring towards the end of the day, which sees them very safe in terms of a buffer coming into tomorrow. Still, there could be some massive strikeouts for some teams. Get them back into a fighting chance. Again, the DRS still in a very, very good spot. At least the first couple of matches tomorrow, if they can match the type of performance they've been able to show us today, which is getting late into a lot of these circles, really could be DRS, seen as one of our first secured members going through to the grand finals.
Just looking for a nade in Mythic's backpack there, but doesn't have one to play with. Behind DRS in both the tables and the position. The smoke forwards actually going out. Will give the game away. Mythic has a little bit of trouble with Gianti close by. It's actually Ravenclaw from Vampire to spot him. Lands a headshot there, sneaks the elimination point away. 4 elims, Alpha 7 out in 5th. Again, similar story to DRS. Good point scoring to close out their day. They still have one more match to play. They'll keep themselves in those top 5s for sure. Vampire now from the south side. HVVP from the top. Trying to trade it off. Knock over towards HVVP for the first time this game. That might be worrisome. Inco, southwest side, being left alone by pretty much everyone now. In comes Vampire to put the crunch onto DRS. The DRS are being shot down by HVVP in the time being as well. Ravenclaw moves up far and far. Schwepp cut down, and in comes HVVP from the top as well to find Vampire shots as well. Ravenclaw out wide, Vampire down to 3. Matic spots Ravenclaw, takes him down, looks for the flush. We'll be able to find it. 10 eliminations for HVVP. Blank The heat is coming back to this roster. This is what they needed. Hopefully they can roll this confidence forwards. Vampire in it late too, but Inco is still alive.
And this is what we talked about. You drop the magnifying glass on this team, you see what the real problem is. And it looks like it is just this case of playing on the edge with such a central-based lobby. It's difficult for them to find these positions where they can sweep and clear. Inco Gaming move up. Nenebete's first to handle. They know they have a knock. Kitsune's got a grenade. Be able to send it over the top, get some good damage. That's fantastic. A nade might do the job there, and Nenebete knows he has to move back.
I think those shots came in from potentially even Vampire across the way. Stepped a little bit too far up that ridgeline. Becca on the off angle might be able to get Matic done here, but Tixi bursts it in the air super high, and those shots from earlier are crucial. Nenebete falls, and they can res. Move closer to the edge of here, though, and Becca might shut you down. Vampire is there, and Squash has an off angle for Inco. This ridgeline is so dangerous for HVVP. It is their savior, but also their curse to play around. They'll have to move closer to the center of the circle. Heals come through. They'll have been fairly good on the ordnance for now. Kitsune wants a peek, Meku wants a turn, and they're getting shot down. Vitali falls, Nenebete again from Vampire on the sidelines. Becca spot out, but shot down, stoned. Squash will be able to deal with it. And out Blue, the only player for Vampire. One player active for Inco as well, with the backline still active. Vampire eliminated. Third place, 3 eliminations. They'll take it. 13 points is not massive, but it's better than what they've been able to do so far. Inco now against HVVP, who have been claiming so much of this lobby in such a crucial time. And Inco as well, performing in a way we haven't seen since the start of the day to get this late in. Squashed down to the zone. Nenebete looking to heal everybody back in for the roster.
Nenebete moves up, back to challenge here. Squash denies the point, out in the play zone, but Meku with a disgusting angle on the side. But Nenebete's already up, takes down one with the DPS, looks for a little bit more.
Will push through, all the way through the smoke, looks for Kitsune, who's in the reload. He'll find a second as well. Nenebete for Inco, needs the challenge, but HVVP turn it back around. It's not elation, we've seen them. The Icemen of the lobby. They keep it calm, even under such pressure. And they are happy, they're relieved to keep themselves alive in this last chance.
And with that kind of game, honestly, 12 points at the start, we'll see them around about 20-ish points there on the higher end of 20-ish points. We should see them just about underneath, getting into that top 5 now. I mean, it was a little bit good there for DRS, getting quite far into the game, secures their top side in that first position spot. And VPE also similarly getting some points on that game too. Very, very well done. Look at that, Matic. Look, man, when you don't go and scout out with the vehicles and get shut down about 500 meters away from your squad, look what you can do. It's unbelievable good stuff.
That's crazy, isn't it? 8 knockouts, incredible stuff coming through from Tixi for the roster. 14 eliminations, 29 points, Blank.
It is a great game, an absolutely insane game coming through from the guys from HVUP. And again, it's this thing where we had to take a look at them from a position where they could play, and it seems to me that there is just that edge play that is causing them some problems, John.
Vampire in late, HVVP getting this chicken dinner. This is the turnaround that is needed, but is it too late? Have they got enough time to make that run back?
I think HVVP need to add a couple letters to their name. It stands for look good, smell good, if I remember correctly. They also need to add in play good. 29 points for them. Getting 14 eliminations and the chicken dinner. That is exactly what they needed, Maxman, to get back in the running here.
You said it, Jason. I was a little bit doubtful because I was a little bit disappointed with their first 4 matches, but this is a game that not only they needed, I think, for their moral boost, but this puts them back in the race for top 5. And now I have a reason to potentially put them as my team to watch for the next matches, because this is, I think that they needed something. I saw a little smile on the face of Matic there, and it's like just a little bit of relief after a game like that. And a confident one too. That great 2-2 split, you're just fragging out as much as you can.
The only problem though, Sandstorm, we did see Alpha 7, we did see Inco, we did see DRS as well get some really good results here, which means the HVVP aren't really going to catch up to them too much. However, the teams in 4th and 5th place, like your Game Lords here, they're going to be able to at least close the distance on them.
Yeah, the mission for the 6th and final game of today would be to get within that top 6, top 7 level of that leaderboard. And I think HVVP will be able to do it, considering the massive turnaround that we've seen in that last game. But to be fair as well, the zone did just go straight to their drop location. So that was massive, massive help for the side of HVVP. And hell, we didn't even have to wait for the 6th game. They're already in the top 7 part of the leaderboard. So that's a huge boost to them. Only, what, 3 points now between them and qualifying. So one game can have a huge impact on where you are on the leaderboard, especially with the amount of eliminations that we've seen HVVP get.
I mean, they were 15th, I believe, going into this match, and they're able to just completely shoot off the bottom. Vampire was last, but they were able to get themselves into 15th now. Unfortunately for them, not as many points as they were hoping for, but at least a sign of life. I think that's the upside here for me, Maxman. HVVP and Vampire, they're not dead just yet. However, LGD, a little bit sad considering they finished 2nd overall. They looked really confident. They didn't shake the hand of the interviewer, as we saw yesterday, so they have no curse on them. But they're struggling as well here, Max.
He must have shook his hand off camera. I mean, that's the only explanation about what's happening to LGD, but not sure what's going on. It's so weird because they're taking these fights. Like, when it comes to macro, they still get in good position. I think their rotations are good. But when it comes to taking fights head on, like, they lost a Game Lord right away, I think, in a 2v3, 2v4 situation, which is really, really surprising. So LGD maybe just losing their tact when it comes to these fights and engages, and it's a tough one, especially as you enter the last game of the day. You don't want to end on a bad note, because that's tough going into the last day.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's maybe not working in their favor is the amount of aggression we're seeing out of some other teams potentially. And I know you two were talking about Inco being very aggressive today, and you've actually been quite happy with that, Sandstorm.
Yeah, very, very pleased, and definitely not what I expected from the side of Inco, but seeing how they're taking those rotations, going to the middle of the zone time and time again, and just trying to get as much information as possible. I mean, in that last game, they were able to be in the middle of the zone, I think zone 5, zone 6. You had a lot of teams on the high ground that were just constantly fighting each other, so they had all the free information. They knew exactly where they could move, and even that fight with Nigma Galaxy, they lost a player, but they were still able to instantly push, get that position instantly, and then they just had complete control once again. Very, very good play from them. And now, especially with that result, I think, you know what, I'm eating my words. I was completely wrong at the beginning of the broadcast. They might definitely do it, but is that going to curse them? I don't know. I hope not. I really hope not.
I do remember hearing someone on the desk say, if you struggle on 2 matches, you're not really going to have a chance. But we'll see if things, I mean, it's not done just yet, right? We still have our top 5 set at the moment. Let's see your teams to watch here in this next match. And Max, man, I'm expecting to see an HVVP out of you.
Hey,
there
got
we
two.
go.
Got 2 HVPs right now. I actually, even though HVP had himself a really good game, well, of course, going to the chicken dinner, I think Vampire showed also some really good potential in that previous match. Like, they seemed like they were actually trying to do something compared to their previous matches. Defending their compound against Breach after Breach, actively pushing uphill. They took a fight, I believe it was against DRS at one point. That was a non-easy fight, yet they come out on top. The sneaker top 3 position at the end, which they were able to secure. So, but they started off this game with 8 points, and now they're up to 21, so they're getting there slowly, and they still just, with one strong game, can catch up to that top 5, but I still need to see a little bit more from these guys.
Yeah, one game could easily get them into like top 7 like we saw for HVVP. The problem is they are running out
to the last chance stage of the tournament. They struggled a little bit during the survival stage, but we said, or I focused on the fact that when we get to this stage, it's going to be a complete change in the strategy from them, going from playing the edge of the zone and being super passive to actually picking the right time to take your fights, and now last chance. So difficult for the rest of the teams to get to them, just with the fact that they still managed to get a top 4, top 5 in that last game as well, with HVVP getting the chicken dinner. So good performance, and hopefully they'll be able to keep it up and secure themselves.
Them to qualify would honestly be phenomenal. The thing is, we've known DRS, the real soldiers, for years now, Max. Like, we've seen this organization around in PUBG Mobile, but we've not really seen...
Average performance is just not going to cut it to make into top 5. It really isn't, and you need these big step-ups. And I think that's maybe what LGD struggles, and they're really bringing the heat in these games.
And bringing the heat indeed here as we take a look over on the side of Titan. No smiles right now for this team as they are well, and then there's a smile, of course, you know. Why would there be? My own caster curse. But yeah, I'm not looking to new happy necessarily. And we're also getting word that unfortunately we'll be playing with 3 players in this last match as Axer unfortunately needs to go get some medical attention. So a little bit making things a little bit tougher, but maybe more awesome for Titan if they can manage to get a top 5 here at the end of our day tomorrow, to kind of relive things and potentially push themselves further. But on the HVVP side, I mean, even with that last victory that they just had, they're not looking really calm. They're looking a little bit worried.
They are looking a little bit stressed, and my question to them right now is, which drop are we going to see from you guys in this next game? Are we going to see you revert back to the good old-fashioned drop in North Georgia pool that gave you first place in your group 3 days in a row? Or are we going to be seeing you drop off on the west side of Military Island, get mediocre loot, and then suffer with a lack of information and a lack of ability to rotate into the zone, like we've seen in the first half of today's games? We saw in Miramar, they tried to go in from the north and they struggled against BTR. We saw that again in Sandhawk throughout the day. So there needs to be the proper drop location and just the proper start for HVVP if they want to stay within that top 7, top 8 range, just because of, again, how close the overall ranking is, and because of how us not having so many teams dominating, the results are just so squeezely tight, or tightly squeezed rather, at this point in the leaderboard.
I like squeezely tight. I think
Right?
that was a good one.
Metal to the pedal, you know, it's cool.
Yeah, we have a new one to add to the list here.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I have another team actually I want to bring up right now. It's going to be, I want to see Besiktas step up. Then you have one chicken dinner. Outside of that, not too much. So Besiktas, I want to see, you know, a good baseline coming through.
All right, well, we're going to find out if Besiktas can do just that. Of course, all of our other teams participating here in our final match of our 2 days in total. First day going to be done after this one. So John on a blink, take it away.
Reaching the halfway mark is a daunting prospect for teams towards the bottom of the tables, but with HVVP blasting out in that last game, they might have alleviated some of that pressure. Although you wouldn't know it looking at their faces. They're looking very, very serious when we've seen them on the cameras.
Still, they realize that, you know, they need to do a little bit more here. I think match 6 will be important to them, and I think that when you look at that last game, light bulbs should be flickering on now for them, in the case that on their side of the map in North George, yes, they might need to play there still because it is their drop spot. It'll be unlikely they'll change it right now, but I think the looting session needs to end a lot sooner for them, and moving towards the circle can occur quicker. A lot of times we have seen the eastern circles or down towards that south side, which is getting a bit more difficult for HVP to actually contend with and head down to early on. But I think if they make an early move, perhaps they can get towards one of these compounds that can be picked up right on the edge side, and at least they're not playing inwards versus a lot of teams that are currently holding a lot of these western compounds. Alpha 7, on the other hand, towards the northeast, able to find a lot of easy positions to move in towards the circle, a lot of undetected areas. This still requires a lot of skill and a lot of scouting from that team, but getting in through that area a little bit easier than for VPE and HVVP currently, who are held out on these western sides. So I think earlier movements, more central case positions, and when we saw it that last game, I've been talking about it all day at this point in time. VPE sends center, HVP gets a center position as well. Both teams end up in the top 3. I don't think there's much left to say about that because the facts speak for themselves.
They are better in the gunfight than the majority of this lobby, I would say. I think that's self-evident from what we've seen from them before, even if we didn't see it at the start of today. So hopefully they can pull it back together, pick up the pieces, and rearrange them into the shape of one of those last chance spots. Top 5, of course, being that bubble. HVVP seeing themselves very close to that now on the overall standings. Alpha 7 going to drop out late. Imagine heading up towards Severny potentially, but is that VPE as well also heading out on the northern side? Hang on a minute, Alpha 7 maybe up to North George. What is going on with this circle? It's really kind of changing things up here as well. Alpha 7 may be hot dropping HVVP in North Georgia Pole, and the circle contains Zaki Blank.
Goodness me. Zaki in this one makes it for a very interesting start to our game. Also up on that northwestern side with this circle, again, HVP given another chance right at the end of the day to bump up those score totals. Currently in 7th place with 41 points. Very doable to get into the top 5, in fact, at this point in time. Just need to not have one of their games they've had from match 1 to 4. Though I would even go as far to say that right now for HVP, there's a very good likelihood that we'll see a good game coming out from them, especially on this northern side, coming off the back of a good game where they found success with that central position they were in. They've already got another chance at finding those positions once again. Meku out towards box compound, Alpha 7 sending over the tops. Alpha 7 will have seen the shoots from HVP and know they're there just because it's their general location, but similarly HVP will be looking back towards those shoots knowing that there's a team over towards that northwest side. I'd sort of expect them to try and gatekeep a little bit. LGD down towards South Georgia as well is a bit of a scary scenario. You've got two very, very good teams crunching in between you. You can see that Meku's already making the run over from box compound immediately to assist with the guys from Alpha 7 that are currently in their area.
Yeah, they have fully regrouped on towards North George now. LGD on that south side. I'm very interested in where these hot points of contest are going to be, though, for the southeastern group of teams, because no one currently playing in Primorsk, with Vampire heading up to Severny. They're going to be safely on the north side of the river. But I imagine that around Ruins is going to be fairly hot when it comes to those rotations, as well as that north side of Yasnaya moving through there. Roshok may be a little bit calmer, but Reject are holding out around that area as well.
There's a lot of positions on this side of the map where, you can hold up, you can get a really good chokehold on the circle. I mean, box compound's very good. You do need to have to be aware of the banking that's underneath it, in which case teams can kind of come out from the water and sneak up on your side. Have to be careful of that one. But yeah, definitely not as many compounds as available as there is over towards the eastern side of the map, in which case some of these compound teams like Inco, like Game Lord, are able to get towards that center, pick up a very, very good position, then just sit there for the entire time. This could be much more tactical play involved. Micro rotations required to get down to certain positions, slowly move your way into a better spot while sweeping, scouting, making sure there's no teams around you. So definitely a good way to end our day. And I think that I would 100% say this circle is very fair in the sense that so much of the previous 4 matches has been favored towards a lot of these eastern teams. It's giving a bit more of a break towards those guys that have had to play Northwest a lot. Interesting split from VPE as well, heading up towards Severny side after seeing this circle, opting not to head down towards Primorsk. I think you're now starting to see, these teams that are not doing so well, like VPE, like HVP, start to make some adaptations to try and fix some of the scenarios. And they know that Severny's a free area, so pick that one up. It's a no-brainer.
LGD make a break to the northern side of the river, so they have got 2 players now playing on the east end of North George. It's going to cement HVVP into that location a little bit further, a little bit firmer as well. Reject moving up as well along the north shorelines with Reiji scouting out for the squad. Closer again towards that box compound, towards LGD. And potentially looking to hold a valuable choke point on the other side of that central island.
I mean, LGD's already moved up past Hospital, past Crate, up towards the eastern side of George. Now, HVP stuck between a rock and a hard place at the moment. Brazilian squad, Chinese squad just either side of them. Jen Foster looking to take some damage over towards down 1, who have been really suffering towards the end of the day. Still 44 points though, riding high on the amount of eliminations they've been able to get over towards those previous matches.
Still in 5th place as well for down 1. Right now, 1 point ahead of IHC, 3 points ahead of HVVP. Bigatron taking shots their way as well. 39 points, they are still very, very much in the race and keeping things going. Game Lord trying to suppress these shots. Game Lord, kind of a surprise entry, I would say, for a lot of people towards the top of these tables. But is it Game Lord or is it Narvalo? We're going to keep asking that question until the rest of the team proves themselves fully worthy of being in those top 5 as well. Vitali run down for Inco. Bigatron are happy to pick up the point.
Inco getting a lot of points off that last game. They needed it as well because they were slipping down quite a bit. And I think that, you know, practically, like you say, John, the majority of their points have come from 2. Games today. 31 points at the start. They got 3 points over 3 matches, and then another big game there on Miramar system at 54. Again, that buffer though at the start of the day with a high elimination count and a chicken dinner really does benefit you massively. Even if you make mistakes a lot during the day, with that one game, it has really allowed them to be in a better position. You know, if they had maybe a 5-point game at the start of the day instead of what they had with 34, I believe it was, or actually 31, you know, this would have been a case where you would see them down towards maybe even 12th to 11th place, like stuck in the middle of that with that last Miramar game. So a lot can change, and very quickly in this format, as we can see just with HVVP as well, up to 41 points after that previous match on Miramar.
And Vampire, it is unfortunate that they didn't jump further than they did. They're currently still 15th place, but they have shrunk that gap to the bubble to 23 points. So hopefully trying to eat into that, to bite a chunk out of that distance towards the end of today. Teams starting to crunch in. HVVP have not left North George yet, and a lot of teams are starting to move into the positions around them, so potentially difficult for them to maneuver. Alpha 7 actually leaving North George and heading back up towards Zaki to play right at the back. Nobody's going to be able to backfill them there. Why would they? Unless DRS go for a wide boat swing, which might come through if the circle shifts north.
Yeah, Misery gets lost on the rotate. Unlikely they'll bring him back up. Gets shunted into the bush and dunzoed. One elimination now found for Besiktas. 62 players. Lobby 16 still going. IHC, the long crawl up towards that northern side. Titan still remaining over towards Milter. Circle centers up, and look at that, Inco. A long run, make the way towards that top side and shooting range. I'm sure they took a little bit of damage earlier on, but they should be absolutely fine. This is in that forested region, so they can keep themselves nice and safe, nice and comfy in that area. And HVVP playing all the way over towards the eastern side of North George. LGD a little bit further ahead of them towards the east side.
I'm wondering how LGD are going to be able to hold on their 2-1-1 split right now. I mean, it's very open with this next circle. I imagine they're going to look to regroup, potentially even 2-2. HVVP get the first knock onto Inco, get a second as well. Third coming through. Was that a flush onto Nenebete, in fact? Turning it around. No, it's only Becker left for Inco, and HVVP picking up a couple points there. Make that 3 that they're able to claim away. Someone must have pinched one of those points away from them, but either way, Inco down and out in the final game of the day. 54 points is their total blank. That is below a 10-point average on 6 matches. It's a 9-point average.
So should sit just underneath, technically, of 5th place. We do conclude this match, but still, a lot of teams have to do well here. We could have a case where a lot more of our 1st to 5th place teams drop out. We have more of these 7th to 8th place teams start to ladder up just a little bit, so we'll see what happens. I mean, 54 is still a 10-point buffer between them and 4th place at the moment. Or moving out down towards Besiktas' area. This is in the ruined airplane area at the moment. Nice position to hold for a little while.
Ooh,
Fortunately, you can get naded out quite easily.
Shut down. Navalo gets the flush as well with the DB. Akashi takes a lot of damage but doesn't go down for Game Lord, so still 4 players active. Aegon XI8 not so lucky, taking a knock their way. HVVP holding off against Vampire, who have managed to appear here in the circle. moving in from Severny a long time ago, past Alpha 7 somehow, into the north side of Georgopol, to one of the buildings underneath the hillside on the north edge of it. Seemingly allowed to do so. That's going to be dangerous. Potentially a bacon time situation for Vampire.
Very close. A lot of these guys at the moment. HVP continues to hold off both these teams at the same time, getting some knocks through. Sure, if they're stalled by other teams, it's not too bad as long as they provide themselves some space in the area. And with VPE all locked into one building, there is a chance that you can take some good nade tosses over towards that area, maybe find yourself a few eliminations, a few knocks that way. You could diminish the actual power of VPE, that's good. But again, these were our two top teams coming into this lobby. Going head-to-head against one another, it's not always as easy as we make it out to be. LGD also similarly a top dog, but haven't really found that power that they were looking for quite a while. Circle sent us up towards LGD, VPE, and HVP, so looks like a lot of these guys towards the top of the tables have now a chance to prove themselves and get some big points on the board and get back in the running towards the top before tomorrow.
And look at DRS as well, all the way out on that west side. They're crossing on the West Georgopol Bridge to the north edge. I'm wondering if that's going to go detected. Should be just about close enough for VPE, for HVVP to hear those vehicles move. But if they go in on foot, it might catch them unsuspecting if there's a third-party position there from the North George area. But do DRS want to commit to it? Looks like they are actually just going to turn back around. They're not even going to go all the way across just yet. Teams making their way in. Bacon time. Sailing in the hills underneath Alpha 7. Noise gets knocked out, flushed easily. Information gathered short. And a dangerous rotation for Bacon time. Probably necessary, to be honest, to spend the player's life there. To be able to get a little bit of a safer route in, but in they crash and right towards Vampire they go. They could be sailing right into the Lion's Den. They will do. They send down. They're going to know there's players there and they have to just keep on going. Try and send wider, but Matic's waiting out as well. He'll be able to shoot one, maybe. Out, nearly gets a second. Ice getting flushed. Will be able to take a little bit of damage. Crawls back behind cover and Ormstyle stays alive. If they can get back in, great. But a nade being cooked up and Meku's flying in as well for the backup. They do not want to allow another team to have a foothold here. And a nade over the top gets the flush. Looking for the next player in as well. Shirty's across the way. Two players active for Bacon time. On the staircases, Tixie goes down first, but they were moving as a pair. HVVP are playing as a team and they're getting their confidence back. 5 eliminations.
Really good refrag there coming through from Meku and Tixie. Also backed up by the fact that Matix remained in that building, so isolating that engagement away from any team that wanted to go for a third party. So VPE still locked down by Matic, able to quickly peek out those windows if he needs to. But HVP in a really good turn of events at the moment. Bumping up their score points, already now in 5th place, laddered up above Dan 1. For now.
Disaster for Bacon time, though. Last place on the standings, 1 player remaining. The first day, absolutely getting cooked. I'll have to really come into tomorrow swinging, best foot forward, try and turn things around. Titan moving in, having to play with 3 this time around, unfortunately. It is far from ideal, but middle of the pack, if they can just get 6 points on the game, they'd be okay with that. That would give them a chance for tomorrow if they can come back with 4.
Titans. Still in the game at the moment with the 3 players, like you say. I mean, got quite far into the circle. It's a decent position, but with that shift, heading down towards the south side, BTR can't have lucky blessings, but there will be a lot of teams moving over towards that crated area. A lot of positions to hide, a lot of warehouses to move into. Reject immediately making the decision to make that crossing right now.
Reiji starting out that movement, dragging the rest of the team behind as well. Playing 1-2-1, forward 1 scout, 2 in the Dacia. Trying to make it across, will be able to do so. Bigatron actually spotted, taking a knock as well, allowing Reject probably to get past into a position that otherwise they probably wouldn't have been able to get to.
Yeah, you're 100% sure that if that happened, BTR would have loved to have taken shots down that way, but it's actually HVP that takes shots over towards Reject. Find at least one of them. They're on the open broadside from the windows. Really good stuff. Again, they still have to be worried about VPE. They're on that north side. Eventually, we'll have to cross downwards. Good shots coming through from down one, but that's Ravenclaw actually taking a knock. Great moment there for HVP to keep VPE locked down on that northern side.
Really good high ground in those buildings for HVVP. Game Lord down one, both fighting it out. And this, again, is good news for HVVP. One of those teams around them, either way, is going to take a little bit of punishment on the northeast side, splitting up very, very quickly. But guess who's still alive for Game Lord, Blank? That's right, it's Narvalo. Has that DP in hand. A signature weapon, seemingly, for this guy. And he needs it. When you're left alone so frequently, you're going to need the number of bullets that you can put in the magazine there. Narvalo, though, spotted by down one and right on the edge, unlikely to survive much further.
Yeah, it's going to be so difficult for him to make his way in. Does have a vehicle, though, so could just full send it. It's a little bit further forward, spots the player, looks to take shots as he's rotating away. Game Lord knowing they need a few more points, but it looks like down one's just setting back up further to try and finish off this final member from Game Lord. So close to them in terms of the rankings as well. Finishing out the final member right now, knowing that how far Game Lord can get into the game with just a solo player as well. You know, those placement points could be the big difference maker. Titans swimming it through at the moment. A tough spot to be in underneath the bridge, but a very survivable one too.
As long as you can hold it down. Those sightlines from the side can be brutal, so if you allow people onto the coastline, like Alpha 7's position, like Besiktas' position, can be dangerous, but fortunately, there are teams on either bank as well who are going to take shots across that broadside. It is a very isolated position, but Titan are going to try and hold off under the bridge with 6.
The way that this landscape pans out, there is huge amount of low ground here, a lot of buildings to play around with, so no one's really safe. If you sat in these crates or you sat in these compounds on this side, everyone can take clear shots back at one another, so you're going to see a lot of these long-range engagements unfolding as the game goes forward. You already saw HVP all the way in North George taking shots down towards rejecting crates, so long shots available. Of how good these players are, it is not unreasonable to think that they would hit these shots either. And DMR's also being buffed recently, gives them really good opportunities to hit some headshots, blink off some helmets, even get a couple of knocks on their side. Next circle, south or north, straight middle. Oh, awful.
It keeps the HVVP position in there, but do they commit to staying there, or is it going to be more valuable to move out and try and take the position away from Aegon XIA, or even try and just get across the river if they can? I mean, it's very, very difficult choices to make. Maybe they just try and play for the points and get as much as they can from the spot that they're in. It's very, very tricky, but it's equally tricky for all of these other teams as well to make that decision. And likely, we're not going to see anyone except for Shirty move, except for Narvalo, down one, and Vampire are going to have to make that choice.
DRS have a really difficult push ahead of them, with Reject looking down that way. I mean, their best bet is just to head down towards the south and move into one of these warehouses, which they're currently doing now. I think that if you are forced to move over that coastal side towards Reject, it's almost a death sentence. So the fact they're able to quickly swing downwards, pick out that compound, realize that no one's in it, that is a perfect opportunity for them. Getting further into the game now too.
YZ lighting up down one, and all 3 of them fall. Punched out and flushed out as well. Goodness me. Fabian wondering what the hell just happened to the rest of his team. Now going to have to live the Narvalo lifestyle.
And cut down the approach quite easily. Very, very sharp reaping blade coming through from the guys of LGD. Instantly shut that down. Narvalo's even looking for a little bit more, maybe hoping to pick up Fabian. That is a dangerous position to be in. 6, takes some shots. Doesn't quite hit it, and Fabian finds the mark he was looking for to get towards the water. Drops out maybe a little bit too short, though.
With the vehicle there, if he can fall back and explode it safely, that's some really solid cover. The difficulty obviously will be nades coming in from LGD and from Titan. LGD actually taking shots over towards Aegon XI8, who have pushed up to North George. Oh, no, wait, hang on a minute. That's Vampire. Just similar color, different team. But down one do finally go down. 44 points.
Hello.
Before the game, 3 eliminations. Narvalo joins Aegon XI8 in their compound, but there's plenty of nades being put through the windows now. 2 players are there to fight off against. And they shouldn't be able to find a nade angle at the moment for Aegon XI8. He's playing right at the back in the room. It'll be super, super difficult without pushing straight on in for them to find that. Unless he missteps. Does take a bit of damage there. Just smokes out the entire building, though, and makes it really hard to go for those nade angles.
Very exposed at the moment. A lot of utility been sent through from Aegon. Try and get this member down from Game Lord. Moves a little bit further up. This is a dangerous push. 6 grenades, though. More than enough to maybe make this happen. It's right up towards the window. It's too close. There it is. UZM finds it.
Able to get the nade right on the money. It was a dangerous push, as you said, but didn't really have too many choices to make. Even Narvalo can only go so far. IHC against Enigma Galaxy in the crates on the south side. Next circle just about to pop as well. So this fight needs to conclude, and they'll make the decision what to do after it. Modi with the lineup playing off Freak on Enigma Galaxy. IHC have the high and low ground. A risky drop in, but it's good for Icy. What a way to find Modi there. Knows that there's another player waiting around as well with the knock. Freak is there, looks for a hop up, looks for a shot, but hang on a minute, it's Bigatron looking to light up IHC in the meantime. They're taking shots out that way, but Freak might just step a little bit too bold forwards. Godless spotted, and he will be taken down. That's Freak close by to a nade from Bigatron, who are taking a lot away a lot of these points from the teams. The circle does shunt, but it keeps that northern side in it. Aegon XI8's compound now priority for the teams on the north.
Need to make their way on over with Aegon XA a little bit under the weather. 3 players, definitely doable to go for this crash. LGD looking to do that themselves. Liquid down, a good nade to start that one off, and Zuxi, no choice but to back off here. Gem Foster has a great spot on the high ground. Time being, now VPE realised that they have to push through HVP if they want to get in. Ravenclaw on the side, great move out from Matic.
Opening up onto Vampire, Ravenclaw down first. Matic down on the ground, the only player from HVVP there. Has Tixie on the backup, who might just fall out the front to try and get a challenge here. Fluke has a nade cooking.
Another!
Schwepp is there. Another knock over to Stoned, and Matic is going big right now, but finally he's dismounted. There is cover on the hop out from Tixie, though, on this high ground position, but the blue zone is pushing. Matic is pretty much done for here. The rest of HVVP are going to be shut down, and Fluke moves on up to the top and will be able to get the shots down with the DBS. Kitsune now left last man standing, and HVVP take a tumble. 6 eliminations on the game. They will go down in 10th. It's probably going to be all right for them into tomorrow. They'll have that platform to play from with all of the teams right in front of them going down early as well. Blank, that pack doesn't close fully. They even managed to get one from the grave. 7 eliminations.
VPE now tried to step out, but it's Aegon XIA in the way. Goes to find Schweppes. That's a really long grenade, and UZM sees it coming. Has to just back off that position. It's a really strong spot coming through from IA. And it was a difficult push for HVV to hit up with 2 teams fully loaded in both of these compounds. Making that crossing would have been very difficult. I think even for VPE, like, it was lights out as soon as that shifted away. They didn't really have much choice after that fact, just to hope the circle moved their way. Looks Zuxi on his own. Inside the crate, I think Icy knows, though.
Oh, they definitely know. Oh, they definitely know that he's up there. In the meantime, LGD bearing down upon Aegon XA, who've been holding out strong for so long, but Ghost finally taken down by a nade from MVM. Suki on the outside, YZ goes up to join him, a nade out the door, might prove troublesome, but use the brunt of it, goes out wide, and he shut it down. LGD wrest control back in a hairy little fight on the northern side, but there's no one for a third party, and everybody in the south is still going hell for leather.
That could have been very bad there. It felt like I8 had that in those final moments. It was a really aggressive push out. I respected it, to say the least, but just one of those bullets flew stray, did not hit him. They closed that one out. Now LGD back up to a 4-man strength alongside them and IHC. Currently right in the zone themselves. For LGD, what a difficult push it's going to be to get across this river for them. They'll need the vehicles, and I don't think they have them.
They will have got that full resupply though of all 4 bodies there. Gem Foster for Bigatron. Just chilling right now. I don't think anyone's really looked out here, and because he could, I think, can he crawl forward and be in the next zone on the arm of the crane? Maybe, I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to wait and see. IHC are going to push out. I don't think anyone expects there to be a player up here still. I imagine people are thinking that everyone was down and descended. Although, to be fair, they would have got that knock onto Zuxi and known that there was still a teammate around from Bigatron.
I don't want to jinx it just yet, but Titans, 3 players in a really strong spot all the way on the eastern side. They started this game with 3. A very nice consolation to AXA, probably not in the game. Some good points here.
Would be such a relief for them as well. They've already got to top 7. Looks like they're going to try and take the fight with LGD. A tough task. Atik goes down first. They have got cover. They'll need to crawl back quite a way and drop a smoke to be able to go for this res, but they can stay up at 3. LGD are going to have to push closer to that ridgeline, towards that bank side as well. And you said it was going to be a tough choice, a tough push. This is where it really starts to solidify.
Some vehicles, though, at least the one, you really do need to just send straight, direct to the other side of the bank, but there's so many other teams also holding in a similar spot. There's Revo, steps up, takes shots. Suki, huge amount of damage on his side.
Goodness me, playing in the vehicle as well. Suki spotted, knocked out as well, but Revo got a little bit too big for his boots, and YZ humbles him. Puts him back into the mix. MVM going down, as are the rest of LGD. Only going to be YZ left. Suki may be resable here, but Mafioso will need to crawl across to get Revo back into it. YZ looks for the shutdown, and Mafioso wins that trade. How does he get that done? LGD eliminated, 6th place, 6 elims. Now over in the crates, it's really all to play for. Jen Foster still on the top rope, up on high ground. He is taking shots. He took down Scarlet, one of some of Reject earlier before. IHC moving through though, 3 players active and alive. DRS, 1 player down, looking to res up Killer. Delta will be looking to pick that one back up. Alex as well, getting resed here. Bigatron, their Lone Ranger up the top. Will find Icy from IHC, the 4 position against DRS, which is going to allow them a lot more ground. And he does have just a little bit of this to play with. Does he have any meds though? Because he is super low right now. Delta spot Icy. Shots from Teak as Titan can start to leverage their bankside position. If they get rid of Alpha 7, they have an amazing opportunity to curtail the players from crates.
BTR out, Titans, DRS, IHC looking to finish this one off. And Titans with the 3 players. AXA not in, but they refuse to let him down here at the end.
Shots from IHC, good. Line them up onto DRS, finding 1, finding 2. Zol now with the last player to worry about, and Titan are on the bankside. You do not have anywhere to go if you're Gianti right now. Pushing all the way through. This is a broadside from Godless, just completely bold there. If Titan peek up, that's a dead player for IHC, but Gianti playing around the corner, they know he's there. Zol trades it off Godless, playing 1, playing 2. Gianti gives them a run for it, but Zol stays alive. They crunch in, they have the cover of the crates, but in move the Titans. They start to close the net, and the trap is set.
Zol tries to heal up. What a fantastic way for Titans to bring this back up to form. You can't write things like this, John. From IH jump up into this one. To AXA having to leave the lobby for 1 game, but the Titans wanting to keep this up for him.
Doing him proud. 4 eliminations, looking to put 6 on the board, and they will be able to close it out. That is how you do it. And what a relief as well for them. Coming into tomorrow, players, throw it up, be proud.
Honestly, AXA probably one of the most smiley guys in PUBG Mobile. I think he'd be glad to see this right now. The rest of his team smiling with him. Happy days here. A good amount of points sees them with a striking chance into tomorrow. Love Hearts coming through too. Happy days. You know, I couldn't be more pleased with this result either. But yeah, a lot of teams able to get some good points. BTR as well. Jen Foster right on top of that grade. Just kind of poking the bears underneath him, getting them to fight one another. I am
HVP getting quite a few points as well on the game from eliminations. Not too many on the placement though, going down in 10th place. But it is going to be so exciting to see what's going to happen tomorrow because it is still so close. It's all to play for.
Just gotta leave the suspense in there for you guys at home, because to do that for Titan Gaming being a man down since the game started, and to pull off a chicken dinner with 6 elims, 21 points to keep them in the running for top 5, I don't know what it is to say about that team, but that was phenomenal.
They go from mill to right to here. It's a really, really long rotation to make too, and they must not have had a lot of information in this game. But yeah, as you said, as a 3-man, a game like this, very, very complicated to get. And a lot of teams, what they did is like, oh, do we have to go north of the river? Oh, do we go south? They're like, we'll go in the river. How about that?
We are the
We
river.
are the river.
we are the river, pretty much. Bridge told of the game. And the moment all the teams are eliminated on a north sandstorm, you can start playing that ridge line, and you know you're never going to leave George Pole in one piece.
Well, DRS get another 14 points as well. Genfo's getting a Bigatron, I believe that was 12. Some big points needed here for some of these teams, but DRS lengthening the lead even further. But taking a look at a quick recap of the day, Matic, 15 elims, leading the charge here. Kind of surprised by that, to be honest, considering HVVP only really had one good match.
Yeah,